Disclaimer: the views and opinions expressed in this episode are those of the guests and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of USA Global TV and Radio. The content presented is for informational purposes only and is intended to foster open discussion and debate. Viewer discretion is advised. USA Global TV and Radio does not endorse any particular viewpoint and encourages viewers to seek out additional information and perspectives. Saving America with Dr. David D. Schein.
Welcome to USA Global TV and Radio, where our mission is to provide education, entertainment, hope, and inspiration. USA Global TV and Radio connects you with experts and audiences all around the world every single day to help you succeed in business and to live a richer life. Visit us at usaglobaltv.com to learn about career and life-changing training and mentoring programs like the Listening Mentor. Subscribe to our newsletter to stay informed about our special programs and offers. Discover how you can become a guest on one of our shows or a host or producer of a USA Global TV and Radio show of your very own. That's USA Global TV and Radio, where the doctor is always in.
Welcome to Saving America. This is your host, Dr. David D. Schein. And folks, crazy would not necessarily be a fully descriptive term as to what we're dealing with in the United States and the world. It's really something else. But the good news is I think we're going to get through it. But I mean, you have the stock market that drops 1,000 points one day, comes back and picks up 1,000 points the next day and 1,000 points the next day. And who knows, it may go down 2,000 points the next day. So if you're looking at the stock market as a barometer, it's crazy. Trump's first 100 days. Many members of my audience know that my book from 2018, Decline of America, 100 Years of Leadership Failures, assigned a letter grade to each president. That covered Wilson through Obama. In short, not a single president got close to an A, and all but one was graded below a B. I am revising that book to include Trump and Biden. Watch for that in the future. I'm considered a hard grader. However, when you are given the opportunity to lead the USA, this incredible experience in governance, the person holding that position should be one of the best. Sadly, that has not happened for over a century. I give Trump a B+ for having a number of good ideas and for reversing many policies of the anti-American disaster that was the Biden-Harris administration. On the other hand, professional managers, as opposed to so-called leaders, have a tough job of creating detailed plans and processes to get the job done. In Trump's case, his first round of major appointments for his cabinet and other positions was not very good. The problem is more with him and not his team. Contrary to the apparent proposition, it does not have to be a car crash a minute to get things done. So hopefully the new cabinet will get things done better than his first term cabinet. So a D grade for the managerial approach to getting the important reforms done, and an F grade to the anti-American clowns who have hijacked the Dem Party. More on that later. There is one bright spot on the execution front, and that is the southern border has hit new lows in illegals crashing through. The transition of the numbers is extraordinary, down by 95%. This proves what many of us knew. Biden could have done the same thing, but he and his fellow Dems are trying to gain control by flooding the country with illegals and then plotting to convert them into dependents on the state and voters. Democrats double down on stupid. The sad story is the lunatic Dems who are doing more for MS-13 members who came here illegally than for their own constituents. In my lifetime, I never thought I would see the Dems go this low. This would be Senator Van Hollen from Maryland. Of course, he represents the whole state. Representatives Robert Garcia from California, Maxwell Frost from Florida, Yasmin Ansari from Arizona, and Maxine Dexter from Oregon. have all gone over there. In fact, given that these traitors to America are using tax dollars to fly to El Salvador, not only do I encourage voters in those districts to file suit against the politicians to recover those tax dollars, but to start recall campaigns and run pro-American candidates in their districts. Tell them they can use campaign dollars or personal cash, but not our hard-earned tax dollars. Earth Day number 55. Due to the crazed rhetoric out there, conservatives supposedly hate the environment. Nothing could be further from the truth. I'm a proud conservative and I support the environment. I am so excited with the progress that I have witnessed since I celebrated the first Earth Day in 1970 in Philadelphia. We Americans have much cleaner air and water, and with great strides in dealing with solid waste. Much more remains to be done to make the future livable for our offspring. The problem is the broken bureaucracy that is just about every government agency. Every agency needs to stay on track and not further expand its jurisdiction. That also needs to be done with fewer people who make normal wages and much more modest benefits, just like the private sector. SCOTUS has in most cases slapped down the EPA over the last 5 years for illegally expanding its jurisdiction beyond its boundaries. We've also had pathetic examples at the state level, like California, that so misunderstands how to preserve the environment that they have created catastrophes and near economic collapse. In contrast, recycling, an important and highly efficient process, continues to advance. The latest is the emphasis on recycling out-of-date technology equipment, and that is very promising. Further, the actual hysterical presentation of the issues is amazing. In my freshman biology course in college, we were required to read The Population Bomb by Paul Ehrlich. That was right around that first Earth Day in 1970. Now remember, I was a kid from a military family, the oldest of 7, and this clown is saying, oh my God, we got to stop having children because the Earth is going to run out of space. Well, the basic idea is that we would overpopulate the Earth and many would starve to death. Well, the population is 8 billion now and still kicking along 55 years later. So much for the academic approach. Student loan collections are rolling. For the record, student loans enabled me to get through college in my first graduate degree. I appreciated the help and paid every penny back early. In the next generation, my children were able to attend college with my support and student loans. Now, one of my kids is a public high school teacher and is getting some reduction in loans due to the programs in place. After a break due to COVID that was far too long, as the Biden-Harris administration tried to buy votes of current and former college students, it's time to start paying. Despite the well-announced start to payments, an amazing only 38% of borrowers, just over 1/3, are current on their loans. 5 million are in default. The break here again is for the long-suffering taxpayers. It's been too long. Remember that the feds have the power to grab tax returns, etc. They are not your routine collection agency. Persons who are having payment issues should immediately contact the representatives of the different payment systems and work something out. Do not ignore this important responsibility. My take on this is that nobody is entitled to a college education. That is a choice that individuals make. That includes what student studies. Many of those students are struggling financially, selected majors that either do not translate easily into a paying job, such as philosophy, or require years of additional study to monetize, like psychology. The taxpayers did not make that choice for these students. On the positive side, many more students are moving toward business and STEM degrees. That is a plus for the marketplace and for the competitiveness of the United States. Lots of business news. Google took a big hit in federal courts in an antitrust case. Experts project that Google may be forced to divest its Chrome web browser. This is a moving target and it'll be a while before this sorts out. We'll keep you posted. In a prior Saving America, I mentioned the corporate headquarters exodus from Delaware to Texas and Nevada. 2 more corporations have announced that they were joining the exodus. Affirm Holdings, a $14 billion company, just announced they are relocating their headquarters to either Texas or Nevada. This came on the heels of Mercado Libre, a leading Latin America e-commerce platform that said it will seek stockholder approval to move its headquarters to Texas. That company has a $100 million market cap. While stated is the shift in the Delaware corporate courts away from pro-business approach and heading more left, Delaware faces the loss of corporate franchise fees, which can be substantial. To give you an idea, Delaware makes approximately $2.2 billion annually from corporate franchise taxes, which constitute a significant portion of total state revenue. This revenue is generated from fees paid by companies incorporated in Delaware, even if they primarily operate elsewhere. Delaware is still the leading jurisdiction for public corporations, with over 2/3 of the Fortune 500 companies incorporated there. Note that Delaware has also announced an increase in its corporate franchise fees. I would call that an element of really bad timing, or maybe they anticipate a big take before many more corporations join the exodus.
All rise.
Our series of interviews for Saving America establishes that the world is full of interesting people. Once you hear from our next guest, I'm sure that you will agree that she deserves the moniker of interesting person. Saving America welcomes Kim Lengling, who is a prolific author who shares her love of nature, animals, living with PTSD, and her mission of tossing nuggets of hope. She is the lead author and coordinator of a collaborative 3-book series titled When Grace Found Me, and 2 standalone anthologies, When Hope Found Me, released November 2022, and Paw Prints on the Couch, released August of 2023. In addition to writing, she hosts the podcast Let Fear Bounce, spotlighting people who make a positive difference in the world, whether by writing, film production, philanthropy, teaching, founding nonprofits, and more. You can regularly find Kim drinking copious amounts of coffee and taking long walks with her dog, Dexter, who is also her official office manager. Today, she is joining us to discuss her new book, Nuggets of Hope. We welcome Kim Lengling for her first appearance on Saving America.
Thank you so much for having me. I've been looking forward to this.
Well, great. Well, we're looking forward to chatting with you. And as you know, we ask our guests 3 questions, and your bio mentions dealing with PTSD. This challenge has been in the public eye a lot, probably the last 20 years, especially due to the Mideast wars. What has been your path to recovery?
My path to recovery, it's been a bumpy one, and I think it probably is for most folks that live with PTSD. And that could be, veterans or anyone who's went through a traumatic experience can experience it. But for about 15 years, I kind of stuffed it down. Kept telling myself, I'm fine. I'm all right. I'm a veteran. I can deal with this. Pull up your big girl panties, Kim. You're fine. Quit being a baby. That's in my head. All that, that negative self-talk that we give ourselves, and I did that for about 15 years. And so I thought I was doing pretty good, until I wasn't. And it was just, life came at me in all kinds of ways. I experienced, my grandmother passed away. I was going through a divorce. A dear friend of mine committed suicide. And all of this stuff was it just felt like it was just, kicks to the gut. And then all that stress and all that grief and torment was bringing up all kinds of stuff from the 15 years prior. And it was just a swirly mess in my head. I didn't know what was going on with me. I was like, oh gosh, there's something wrong. I think I'm going crazy. Am I going crazy? And I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep, was losing all kinds of weight. And friends of mine in the veteran post that I'm a member of, they happen to be combat Vietnam vets. And they're about 20 years older than me. And a few of them noticed a difference in me, that shift. And they said, and they always called me kid. They said, kid, we don't know what's causing everything that you're going through right now or what your issues are, but we recognize them. And if you don't get yourself to the VA, we're going to drag you kicking and screaming. And I did not answer them in a nice way. It was like,
big surprise.
Yeah, I was like, I'm fine. Leave me bleep, bleep, bleep alone, and they said, now, if you don't go, we will take you. And they did. They did take me.
They
Um,
literally kidnapped you and hauled you over to
yes.
the VA hospital.
And
Okay.
I was angry. I was super angry. And at that time, and this is quite a while ago, I'm aging myself, but this was quite a while ago. At that time, there were nothing. There were no programs, no counselors, no nothing in place for female veterans. And I had experienced sexual assault by two individuals. There were no female counselors. They didn't know what to do with me. And the counselor, a gentleman, of course, and he happened to be a Vietnam vet as well. When I was in his office with him that first night, he just said, because I had told myself, I told him, I'm not sharing anything with you. I was made to come here. He goes, that's fine. We can sit here and stare at each other for 45 minutes if you want. I went, fine, good, we will. And we did. We did. We stared at each other for 45 minutes. But he was very honest and said, we don't know what to do with you. We don't have anything in place for you. He goes, so we're going to be learning together how to get you feeling better, because that's the goal. And I will always appreciate him being so honest. And I kept going back. The guys kept taking me back. And then I started going on my own. And it was a very slow, very bumpy, very, very hard process. But once I started gathering some tools in my tool belt, that's what I like to say, it was easier to recognize certain things that might cause me to seize up in a panic attack. Or because I suffered from pretty decent anxiety, and I would hyperventilate, or I would just freeze. I'd be in Walmart and I couldn't move. It was not a fun place to be. And gathering those tools on my journey, I was able to utilize them and recognize certain things that might trigger me or whatever. I could recognize them now before they come and before it hits me hard. And I'll be like, all right, Kim, deep breath. We got this. We can do this. You're in a safe place. You're okay. Look around you. You're fine. So there's certain things that, certain little tools that I still carry with me to this day, because it could be a song, it could be a smell that all of a sudden just makes me go, literally takes my breath away for a minute or two.
Now, did you ever, did they give you anti-anxiety meds to help deal with this?
I fought that.
Mm-hmm.
Surprise.
Yeah.
And I refused that for a long time, but it did get to a point where I was becoming so unhealthy physically. Because thankfully, I was not one that turned to drinking or drugs, anything like that.
Yeah.
I was just stubbornly fighting it on my own, But then there was a time I went to my doctor, my regular doctor, in a full-blown panic attack, and it was just not stopping. It wouldn't stop. And he said, Kim, we have to do this now. And I'll never forget this with him. He said, you are trying so hard to climb this mountain, but it doesn't have to be a mountain. He goes, I will give you the smallest dosage, and we will start you off at 3 months, and we'll just go and see how it works for you. He goes, but those mountains will become molehills. So instead of trying to climb, you'll be able to step over. And I've never forgotten that. And so I did take an anti-anxiety for about 6 months. And that was years and years ago. And I would say over the last 25 years, I've done that 3 separate occasions for 6 months at a time. And because my body does not react well to any type of medication.
Sure.
I experience all the side effects. I'm super, super sensitive. So that's why it's like, building up my tool belt the best that I can.
Right.
And because I felt like that was a weakness to have to take a pill, even though it was only, it was like 10 milligrams. It was the lowest ever. But it did make the mountains turn over turn into molehills so I could step over them instead of struggling to climb.
Right. Now, did you ever get a female counselor?
I did, but it took about 13 years.
Oh my goodness. And were you meeting with a psychiatrist or a psychologist?
A psychologist. And then
Okay.
some just, what are they? I can't remember the letters. Counselors, not a psychologist or a
Social
psychiatrist.
workers.
Not a social worker either. Yes. Yes, you're right. But
Yes,
there's
the
extra
counselor,
letters that they
certified
add on.
counselor. Yes, I know there's
Yeah.
a couple, lots of other alphabet soup like
Yes,
that.
that's a lot of letters. And they've added to them. So there was a couple ladies because one moved on. I was with her for a while, and then she moved on to another position. But yeah, it took a long time. Now, now there are things in place. There's programs in place specifically for women, for female
Good,
veterans,
good.
and there's all kinds of things that the VA provides, which is awesome. But I was kind of what did my one counselor, the gentleman that I first saw, he said, we're going to have to blaze a trail with you. And I remember clearly saying, I don't want to be a trailblazer. I just want to feel better.
Well,
You know?
part of feeling better, of course, is people interacting with kindness. And so, how do you define kindness and why is it so important in our lives?
Oh my goodness. If people were kinder to each other, the world would be such a better place.
You think?
Kindness to me, it would, truly. Kindness to me is being able to see people for who they are and meet them right where they're at without judgment. If you notice someone hurting, acknowledge that. You might not be able to help them, but you can at least acknowledge, I'm so sorry that you're in this spot right now, or I'm so sorry that you're hurting. Is there somewhere you can go for help? And if you know a resource or a phone number or whatever, provide that. Being kind just can change someone's life in an instant. A smile at a stranger that you're passing on the street, because none of us know what someone's going through.
That's true.
My life right now could be a complete shambles and you would never know. Yours could be a complete shambles. How would I know that? So why not be kind? That's my question. Why wouldn't someone want to be kind? Gosh, it doesn't cost you a dime.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because, certainly part of sometimes we turn on kindness rather than practicing it all the time, don't we? In other words, if we see somebody who's visibly suffering and there are people, the cliche, they wear it on their sleeve, you feel like you need to reach out. And we all do that differently. I use words. I'm a talker. I'm also adverse to touching. So I'm not going to go hug people. I'm going to talk with them and modulate my voice and stuff like that. But I think you make a wonderful point. How about people who bear it well, like you did for years and years and years, carrying that inside you? And if people said, oh, well, I'm not going to be kind to Kim because she doesn't need it today, they don't really know, because a lot of us, there are people out there who are, I'm sorry, we often use the term drama queens, and that can be male or female, obviously.
Right.
And I have a relative in my family who's a drama queen, and it doesn't mean that they need all the kindness in the world. And sometimes you meet a person who's like, darn, that person really has their act together, and behind the scenes they're dealing with some really tough stuff in life.
I have found that those people that are the kindest have been through or are dealing with their own trauma. Those ones that reach out and help, that are the helpers, are ones who recognize it in others because they've been through hell and back. Or maybe they're in it right now. That's why hold the door for a stranger, offer to carry someone's groceries to their car, smile at a stranger, compliment a stranger. I started doing that a lot outside of handing out my little nuggets of hope that I have. I physically hand these out to people. strangers. So, I probably look like a creeper or a stalker, but hey, I have hope.
Well,
So,
you probably get a little bit of leeway being female because we are a society that's accustomed to the women being the moms and being maternal to people and all that. And I wanted to bridge into our third question, which is, what are some practical tips for integrating kindness into our lives? You just mentioned one. You have, and for we do this in webcast and podcast, so there are people who are listening who can't see. But Kim held up a little. Is it a rock?
it's a polished stone, just a small one. You
Okay.
can carry it in your pocket. Polished. I don't know. I might be aging myself, but older gentlemen, like my grandfather's age, used to carry stones in their pocket, and they call them worry stones. They
Yes, I've
carry them
seen
and
that.
just, rub them with their fingers and stuff. So this is a small polished stone with the word hope engraved in it. And
Cool.
so yeah, I started doing that a couple 2.5 years ago, and that's part of how the book Nuggets of Hope came about. I share some of my interactions that I've had with people that receive those nuggets. But back to your question, I mean, just simple little things. Just like I was saying, smile at a stranger, compliment a stranger. I saw three older ladies in Walmart one day, and they were just giggling. They had to have been in their mid to late 70s, and they were just giggling up a storm. And as soon as I heard them, I started smiling. And then when I came around the corner and saw them, they all had big purple hats on, and they were just laughing and giggling. And I'm like, they are having a blast. And when I finally got up to them, because I'm like, I got to go say hi to these ladies. So I walked up to him and I said, "Excuse me, ladies, but I have got to tell you, your hats are fabulous." And they just started laughing. They're like, "Oh, thank you." And they're preening, playing around, just being sarcastic, fun in a fun way with their hats. But they made my day. They absolutely made my day. And I wasn't in the best mood that day. I wasn't having the greatest day. And I heard their laughter first. So you don't know what you're doing at the time, how that might be affecting total strangers that are around you or that might see you. If you're walking in the park or something and you see someone with a puppy or a dog or pushing a stroller with a baby in, and it just makes your heart go, "Oh." At least it does for mine. And that takes you out of your own muck. Because
Mhm.
I'm always saying I got stuck in my muck. And it's like, pull yourself out, Kim. Come on. There's always something to be grateful for. I guess that's the other thing I want to say. There's always something to be grateful for. And it doesn't matter what it is. Sometimes I might wake up because I had a horrible night. I had nightmares all night long. And I wake up and I'm so tired. And I'm like, oh my gosh, how am I going to make it through this day? I'm so tired. I'm not going to be able to get any work done. Then I remind myself, Kim, quit it. Quit whining. You got a lot to be grateful for, including this cup of coffee.
I knew
That
you
might
were going to
be,
say that. Just have more. If you had a bad night, have more coffee during the daytime.
yeah.
Now,
But I mean,
what's your
that's
answer
just,
for me, though?
to be grateful. That might be the one thing you're grateful for that day, but you're grateful for something, and it's taken your mind out of the muck, you know?
True. Well, the problem is, in my case, I had to switch to decaf coffee about 1990. So that's a long time ago
That is a
because I would wake up and, like a normal person, have a regular cup of coffee, and then I would vibrate the cup off the table. And
oh,
it just had a dramatic reaction. I about 5 years ago, I got to switch around. So I now do decaf in the morning and decaf at night because I like the taste of coffee. I grew up with coffee. But then at lunchtime, after lunch, I have one cup of regular coffee. So I get one thing. I'm going to a 3.5 hour opera next week from I think 7:30 to 10:30. Well, actually, it'll go to 11. And I'm going to go ahead and have a cup of regular coffee right before I go into the
right
opera,
before you go.
so I can sort of stay awake for that. It's Tannhauser, which is one of Wagner's shorter operas.
One of the shorter ones, yes.
Oh yes, he's done some 5 hour. I've caught a couple 5 hour operas, and in those cases, I just bring a pillow.
I've never been to an opera. I've not ever been to one.
Well,
Although I do like listening. I like listening to Pavarotti every once in a while.
sure, he's fabulous, and of course
Oh,
he's I think he's retiring or retired now, but he was widely regarded as one of the best opera singers of
yeah.
this most recent generation. And I'll tell you how I started because it's I think it's informative. I started with Gilbert and Sullivan, which, as someone with a great sense of humor like you have, the Gilbert and Sullivan, part of the trick with Gilbert and Sullivan that people don't realize is it's political commentary of the 1880s. They are making fun of the crown. They are making fun of royal society. And if you realize what they're doing sarcastically, if you will, that's an American term, not the English, you can really see, oh, I see what he's doing. He's pretending to be a caricature of the king, but of course you couldn't do that in 1880s.
Right.
But you could write a comical opera and have someone that you don't call king, but acts a lot like it. But it was interesting because I saw an opera just a few weeks ago that I had not seen before, Rossini opera, and it was a lay-down comedy. I mean, they had a pie in the face. They pulled a wig off a guy. I mean, all sorts of stuff. I had never seen an opera like that, but that was around 70 years before Gilbert and Sullivan. So I think what happened is that you could see the lines from that to Gilbert and Sullivan, that they definitely knew what they were doing. And maybe also let people know there are a few lawyers out there with a sense of humor.
Yeah.
Because they were barristers, and as well as musical people. At least the one who did the lyrics was a barrister. I don't know if the one who did the music was. But anyway, that'll get you started. Kim, we always try and be respectful of our guests and give them you keep it short. The other thing that we always say is we keep it short because we want our audience to actually listen to it, because we're not going to give them the book. What we want them to do is to say, wow, Kim Lengling, what an interesting person. I think I will look her up and get her book, Nuggets of Hope. And for our audience, how do they get more information about you and your book?
Easiest place is just go to my website, which is my name, KimLenglingAuthor.com. There you can find my books. You can find the episodes to my podcast, Let Fear Bounce. You can see what I'm doing, what I'm up to. If you want to contact me, go ahead and scroll to the bottom and you can hit that contact button. That's where Dexter comes in. He will get all those emails and scan them for me and let me know who's reaching out and what they need. So yeah, Dexter, my office manager, my trusty office manager, will take care of all that. But yeah, would love to hear from you. All my books are available on Amazon, just under my name, Kim Lengling. And again, my website is KimLenglingAuthor.com.
Please proceed.
An incredible quick hit. This is a report we credit to the Gateway Pundit. They report that recently Dylan Bryan Adams, a fiscal policy analyst for Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, was reportedly caught on camera keying as many as 6 Teslas with damages estimated at as much as $20,000. However, the Soros-backed county attorney, Mary Moriarty, will not sink criminal charges. He will be subjected to an alternative discipline per the report. The article also suggests that the Minneapolis police are outraged at how this is being handled.
How does the defendant plead?
What will really happen with Iran and those nukes? The U.S. has now had 2 rounds of talks with Iran about preventing them from getting nukes. My take is that this is unlikely to get an acceptable agreement. Iran cannot be trusted and appears to be just buying time since they are so close to producing weapons-grade uranium. To make a point, the U.S. Navy sent another carrier strike force to the Middle East. However, most experts feel that the likely outcome is another Israeli bombing excursion to take out remaining nuke production facilities with U.S. support. The irony is that many countries in the Middle East now support the Israeli-USA position since they want peace and prosperity, not endless war threats from the wackos in Iran.
Please raise your right hand.
China threatens other countries. Reports are that China is attempting to tell other countries not to make tariff deals with USA. I note that this demonstrates both the power of China and its desperation. While the Trump administration claims that China is engaged in some tariff talks with the US, although keep in mind the definition of a deal is that the other side complies and China cheats.
Objection, Your Honor.
My regular listeners know that I am a huge proponent of mandatory term limits for all public officials and certainly in Washington. In fact, my book, Bad Deal for America, is a specific pitch for term limits. America's Congress is cursed with the biggest collection of losers and liars imaginable. Worse, due to the power of the incumbency, they stay forever getting rich but ignoring their overtaxed and underserved constituents. I apply this to both political parties, not just the alleged liberals. Classic examples include Demented Joe continued to hold office even though he could not conduct a conversation. He was there for 50 years. Then Mitch McConnell can't walk stairs but still pretends to represent his taxpayers. Of course, there's Nancy Pelosi, Miss Insider Trading herself, as I label her. Then the grand faker Bernie the Bum, who's worth millions and has 3 houses, pretending to be a commie. He is on a speaking tour to promote extreme left positions. Will he surrender some of his unearned salary back to his impoverished taxpayers? Hey, a bit of good news. Totally useless Dick Durbin, senator from Illinois, who sucked up taxpayer dollars for 44 years and accomplished nothing other than re-election, has announced he will not run again. The sad note on this is that based on what I know about politics in Illinois, he will likely be replaced with another useless Democrat.
May I remind you, you're still under oath.
Business students, business persons, or consumers, business law impacts much of what you do. This segment is designed to help you get past the headlines on key stories. What does assault and battery really mean? Assault and battery is a phrase heard frequently on the evening news and even in many police dramas. Many think they know what it means. Well, there's a bit more to it. First, in the original setting, each was a separate offense. Assault means to cause someone fear of being touched in a harmful way. Battery is the actual act of touching someone without their permission, which causes some injury, even if it's minor. For instance, recently you may have seen news clips of youngsters pushed out of political photos sessions by ambitious politicians. In fact, this could be battery if some harm results. Usually the youngster ignores the shove and life goes on. In modern parlance, assault and battery are linked together, not applied separately. Note that assault is the intent part of the process and battery is the action itself. While injury is not literally required, if there is to be criminal prosecution, then something more than a shove will be required. In current day society, allegations of assault and battery have become fairly common. The allegations are often made against sports stars and other celebrities. These days, minor injury is a misdemeanor, while more serious injury is a felony and often distinguished with the term aggravated assault, although it really should be aggravated battery. An interesting aspect of this phrase is that it is both a criminal offense and a civil wrong. In the more serious cases, a victim will start with filing a police report. If the actor is found guilty, then obtaining a civil verdict against the actor is often an easy step. Obviously, sports stars and other celebrities are viewed as deep pockets, so that may give others an incentive to pursue both a criminal and a civil case against them. To be sure, a civil case can be brought without a criminal case paired with it. In many cases, these lower profile cases are brought to assuage hurt feelings more than about recovering for serious injury. In the workplace, one reason managers should never touch employees is due to the risk of an assault and battery claim being brought against them, even if there is no real injury.
Silence in the court.
As we grow up, a common reference for success or failure is the letter grade. Whether we are in grammar school or college, we all want an A grade and certainly regard an F as a big failure. Here at Saving America, we scan the news for reports of celebrities, politicians, or others who just end up in the public eye. So the A grades are awarded to people and organizations for great service to their communities, and the F grades, of course, are unfortunately more common, are awarded to those who need to do a lot better. The badge of dishonor today belongs to the anti-American fools on the Los Angeles City Council who voted to make America's second largest city more dangerous and to defy federal law enforcement, and will throw in the Los Angeles School Board just for good measure. According to the Los Angeles Times, the council tentatively backed a sanctuary city law that forbids city employees and resources from being involved in federal immigration enforcement. It points out that the law would not stop the federal government from carrying out mass deportations in Los Angeles. But the idea is to send a message that this deranged crew running City Hall is willing to back illegals versus citizens. In a parallel stupid move, the Los Angeles School Board affirmed the country's second largest school system has a sanctuary for, get this, immigrants in the LGBTQ plus community. Note that federal law already protects persons here legally in the LGBTQ community. So they do not mean immigrants, they mean illegals. The vote was a direct attempt to fight the overwhelming support across America for Trump in an election where safe borders was a major issue. The LA vote is against the safety of their own taxpaying residents. So Saving America awards today's F grade to the Los Angeles City Council and its school board for their votes against their own citizen safety and well-being by declaring themselves a sanctuary city or a sanctuary school board in violation of federal law.
Motion denied.
Our series of interviews for Saving America establishes that the world is full of interesting people. Once you hear from our next guest, I am sure that you will agree with me that she deserves the moniker of interesting person. Saving America welcomes Eti Lazarian, who learned leadership skills early in life, completing her mandatory service in the Israeli Defense Forces, known as IDF, of course, where she rose to become staff sergeant in the Givati Brigade, an elite infantry unit. She followed that by completing both her BA in finance and her MBA at the University of Derby in the United Kingdom. Several years later, Eti moved to the United States to become aide, General Operations Director for Insignia LLC, where she oversees a variety of real estate projects that the firm handles. As well as being involved in Insignia, Eti, as a family office principal, oversees family investments in other asset categories. One of her interests is the evolution of EV technologies, and she directs investments into various projects around that space. One of her deepest passions in life is philanthropy, a passion she has passed on to her 3 daughters. She is involved in projects from food distribution during the COVID crisis to arranging small suitcases for children in shelters. That passion continues with new projects of each and every day under a simple philosophy: be kind. We welcome Eti Lazarian for her first appearance on Saving America.
Thank you, David, for this warm introduction.
Well, we're delighted to have you. We've been in communication with you for several months here, and we've been trying to coordinate schedules. So we're just super happy that you were able to work us into your schedule.
Yes, thank you so much for hosting me. I really appreciate it. I'm very excited about this beautiful opportunity. Thank you.
And we're excited about having you here. As you know, we ask 3 prepared questions and then we wrap up. You have an amazing background with your experience in the Israeli military and then to the UK and then from there to the United States. What brought you to the USA and how would you compare it to where you've been previously?
You know, beginning of my career was in the military, where I learned the meaning and understood what hard work really is. I mean, you're working hard, but this is to protect your life, to protect your country. So I think it's really important for every person really to join the army, to understand what it is to actually protect the land that you live on. And then from there, you can go into business or whatever you choose to go in your life. But I feel like it gives you like a really good ground. And also the army gives you like really good protocols, teaches you how to do things. Because if you're not following protocols in the army, you die. So it's really important to follow those procedures. And this is what I'm implementing in my business as well. Once we understand how things work and we make them work in a proper way, we elevate it to the next level and to the next level. I started small in business. My business career started actually in Guangzhou, China, I used to travel there and import things from there. I used to work in London. I used to work in Oxford, in Israel, of course. And when I came to America, I scaled it to the next level. And I went into real estate, which, of course, we started small with small properties. And now we have much larger scale of operation. And this is what we do.
Well, it sounds like you've covered quite a bit of the world, and I've worked a little bit along those lines, but mostly as a tourist. But it sounds like some very cool things to do. So you were involved in many types of businesses, especially real estate projects. You emphasize a strong focus on diversity. Explain how that helps to move your investing forward and the types of investments that you do.
So I think our specialty is moving with the market. So whatever we do now, it doesn't mean that that's what we're going to do 5 years from now. We do have a protocol and a good 5-10-year plan of how we're taking the company and in what direction we're moving. But we're very big in working with the community, working with municipalities, working with individuals. I do a lot of work with young female entrepreneurs. If they want to start a business, I guide them how to do it. And I'm trying to implement everything I have going on in the community into my business. And so far, it's going very well. I can say that we started with residential townhouses. We moved into mixed use, shopping centers, retail. I built a lot of restaurants in my career. And now we're doing office building, multifamily, and a lot of projects that helps the community and create, really good things for the community, where there is a hero unit, where I put a lot of police officers and firemen in my multifamily units, and whatever we can do to help the community and elevate the environment that we are living in.
And how do you tie that to the approach to diversity?
How do I tie? We listen. I think my biggest talent of what I do is actually I am boots in the ground, and I listen to the community and I understand what the community is in need. If it's a community center event, so where we're building the centers and the mixed use that we're building, we're allocating a certain area for the community center. We are allocating certain areas for really whatever the community, like a little park, a little mommy and me classes that we do. I actually take the time and walk all the properties that we have and listen to what people are in need. And I think that's the little edge that we have going for us. And that's why we're so successful at what we do, because we really listen to the need and we supply the need that people have.
And you've emphasized philanthropy in your endeavors. What do you recommend to other small and family businesses in terms of how do you become involved in such positive projects?
I think, sorry, I disconnected it. Philanthropy. I have a different approach about philanthropy. The way I look at philanthropy is you have to, not everybody, but many people approach philanthropy is, if I have $1 million, I'm going to give it to a certain organization, and this is my philanthropic mission. For me, the way I look at it, this is donation. You just made a donation. Thank you so much for a donation. It's fantastic. We really appreciate it. But for me, philanthropy is actually go to the ground level and understand what people are in need. And I think the best example I can give you is those suitcases that we did for the children. I volunteer with my children at, it's called Loving Hands. It's a women and children shelter. And we saw my daughter, I think she was 4 years old, and we saw a beautiful, young, gorgeous, blonde kid, blue eyes, beautiful, beautiful little angel. He came with this giant, hefty bag because his mom said, we have to leave the house immediately before daddy will kill us. And she just went like this, and she collected everything from the closet and put it in a large, hefty bag. And this 4-year-old is walking around with this hefty bag. And my daughter is like, this is just horrible. What can we do for him? And I'm like, Mia, what do you think will make him happy? And she said, I think we should buy him a Batman bag. Let's buy him a nice Batman suitcase. So we went to Walmart and we saw the Batman suitcase. And then we talked the manager of Walmart was there, surprisingly enough. And this is also a philanthropic, entrepreneurial adventure for her, because she just figured out that she could ask the Walmart guy, but she could buy a suitcase for $20, but she could also ask the Walmart manager to donate 100 suitcases, and then she can give it to the shelter, and all those children that pass through the shelter will have an Elsa bag or a princess bag or a Batman or Spider-Man or whatever you want. And she told the manager what happened, and immediately he gave her what she asked. So that was a teaching moment for my young child about business. You want something, you see something, target it, make it a mission for yourself to get it done, and you will get it done. And the satisfaction that a 4-year-old has to do something so great for the community, you can't translate it to anything. This is something remarkable.
How old are your daughters now?
So my daughters now are 17, 15, and 13. We started Philanthropic mission, but we don't call it mission, we call it a mitzvah. Being Jewish, we call it a mitzvah. So I'm teaching my girls to be good people. I'm teaching them to listen to their environment. I'm teaching them small acts of kindness, to open the door if someone needs the door open for them, help a lady carry the bag to her second floor if she lives in the second floor. Just be aware of what's around you. If someone needs help, just help them. And you'll be surprised, people are just like this. They don't see what's completely ambivalent to the environment. They don't see what's going on around them. And I think that's our biggest disadvantage that we have as a community. We used to be a little village, but now we're so big and there are so many people around us. But that's what happens.
It's interesting you say that. And part of that is what I call good manners. And I grew up, my mother had poor balance. So she was naturally left-handed. And in Catholic school, they hit her left hand with a ruler to force her to write right-handed. This, of course, is in the 1930s. And the superstition was that left-handed people were at a disadvantage or bad people. So in any event, apparently, if you're forced to write with the wrong hand, it affects your balance. So I had very stable gait. I was my mom's escort. And so my mother had read Emily Post, which was a big, thick book on manners, including how you put silverware out and all that. So even though we grew up very poor, I was taught very basic manners. You always open the door for a woman. You always open the door for an elderly person. You always help people. I mean, it was not charity. It was part of what you did as a responsible person who was not disabled and not elderly or whatever. And it's interesting today because just a minor thing, like any, professional couple, like we go out to dinner as recently as last night, the night before with different couples. And it's amazing to me is how many people, men will jump in, men are usually the drivers, will jump in their car and their lady friend will be
my husband included. My husband including. Doctor.
But it's just fascinating because I can't conceptualize doing that because it was so ingrained in me to make sure that my mom was safe, she was in the house, in the vehicle, whatever you're doing. So I think we could hopefully we're going to return to better manners. And
you are the last gentleman alive, Doctor. You are the last one.
I'm arguing that we're going to bring it back, and I think that ties in with charity because some of what you mentioned is good manners as well as
it's being aware. It's just being aware, Doctor. It's just being aware. It's just looking around you, see the need, identify the need, and that's what makes you a good businessman. That's what makes you a good philanthropist. That's what makes you a good person. Just look around you, see what people need, identify it, and move forward with it. This is the way I look at things.
Well, it sounds like a very healthy approach. And that sounds like you're doing a wonderful job of bringing your daughters around, and they're going to be an asset to the community for many decades to come. And as you know, we try and keep these interviews short because we interview busy people like you. We don't want to take you off track too much. But tell our audience how do they get information on you, your company, and your charitable activities? How do they get that information?
So my company is Insignia LLC. So Insignia CRA.com. You can go online and see everything that we have, all the projects we have. If you want to invest with us, you're welcome to come and invest. We have amazing projects. All the projects are around the community. All the projects are live, play, work. We do everything together. It's like you don't really need to leave the area. You don't even need a car. You have the restaurants, you have your apartment, you have whatever you need, office buildings, everything in one community area, which is amazing, I think, what we do. Regarding the philanthropic work, we have Lazarian Girls Do Good, Be Good. It's that simple. We have a Facebook page, we have an Instagram page, Lazarian Girls Do Good, Be Good. It's just simple philosophy of life. Be a good person. Do good things. Be kind to the person next to you. Everything we are and everything I am is all about kindness and understanding and talking to people and being accepting and understanding that sometimes some people are mean one day or having a bad day, but it's just that moment. They're just having a bad day or a bad moment in that moment. And always keep your mind open. Always give the people the benefit of the doubt. You know, when I talk about philanthropy, it's a simple thing. I go in front of children and I say, okay, I'm a philanthropist. I want to be a philanthropist. This is my lifelong dream. I'm a philanthropist. I don't have any money. I take my pockets out. I have no money. What can I do? I don't have any $1 to give you. I got nothing. What can I do? And kids themselves come up with this amazing idea. Girls have beautiful long hair. They donate their hair to Locks of Love, to kids with cancer. Beautiful ballerinas can dance. We go to the elderly home and we entertain the elderly and we teach them how. We don't really teach them, but we show them how to dance and we show the elderly lady how to hold the hand like this and how to move. And it's also making them smile and laugh and everybody's giggling. And it's really, really sweet. We go to the dog shelter. We read a book for the dogs. So young kids that just learning now how to read, they're practicing their reading, but they're reading to the dog. So they make even a bigger effort to read a full book to the dog because the dog is by himself and nobody talks to him. And the dogs are just so happy to see the kids coming and taking them out for a walk and talking to them. So anybody can be a philanthropist. Any person in the world can be a philanthropist. It's just wanting and understanding that there is a need out there and fulfilling the need and not trusting someone else to do it. You always say, okay, this dog is going to be fine. This person is going to be fine. Someone is going to take care of him. Be that someone. Raise up, elevate yourself and make sure that you rose up for the occasion and you took care of the issue that was in hand.
The defense rests, Your Honor.
Scientists use food dye found in many places, including Doritos, to make see-through mice. Food dye transformed the skin of mice into a living window revealing blood vessels, muscle fibers, and gut contractions. This is from an oddball story in the Washington Post. They report that researchers from Stanford University injected a food dye known as yellow number 5 into the stomach, scalps, and hind legs of mice. The skin of the mice temporarily became a living window into their blood vessels, muscles, and gut. Now, while this is fascinating research based on light refraction, hey, for myself, I think I'll stick with X-rays.
This session is adjourned.
Thanks for joining me for Saving America. If you have questions or comments, please find me on various social media sites. I'm Dr. David D. Schein, and I will see you next week.
Welcome to USA Global TV and Radio, where our mission is to provide education, entertainment, hope, and inspiration. USA Global TV and Radio connects you with experts and audiences all around the world every single day to help you succeed in business and to live a richer life. Visit us at usaglobaltv.com to learn about career and life-changing training and mentoring programs like the Listening Mentor. Subscribe to our newsletter to stay informed about our special programs and offers. Discover how you can become a guest on one of our shows or a host or producer of a USA Global TV and Radio show of your very own. That's USA Global TV and Radio, where the doctor is always in.